So what if we got a M3GAN doll that just helped me put the toilet paper on the holder?
You know, I wish I thought of this sooner.
She can just stand outside the bathroom reminding me. She remind me of a lot of things. Seriously, Abby, put the fucking water in the Brita.
We got rid of the Brita, and that's probably for the best for our marriage. Because that was a bone of contention.
We were headed straight for divorce. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ride Home Podcast. My name is Abby.
Hey guys, it's Caitlin.
We are finally back in theaters.
We actually went to a movie theater.
We were like invalids stuck at home. We're the grandparents from Willy Wonka,
We were just
watching
hibernating.
movies. There really wasn't anything to see in theaters. I mean, we saw what we wanted to see.
Yeah, we seen what we needed to see.
And we're just happy to be back.
Yeah.
So we just saw the movie that's a little bit taking the world by storm right now.
Yes.
And how happy am I to have a horror movie in January to indulge in?
I know.
We just saw M3GAN.
Yes, we did.
I think this was the most impressive marketing I've seen for a horror movie in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And M3GAN herself is already like a meme. Like, she is just like a part of our culture already.
Yeah.
Even before people even saw the movie.
Truly. Like we already all knew who M3GAN was and what she was about.
The second that trailer came out with her doing the dance in the hallway,
we loved it.
We were sold. We were in. We were going to be there. And I think a lot of other people were, because we can say with confidence that every seat in our theater was sold out.
The entire theater.
There were like little solo seats here or there.
Right.
But every row was filled all the way up to the front. Just
Insane.
Absolutely packed. And it was so fun to be in a horror movie with so many people, because obviously like the scary moments, you get that little bit of humor when everybody reacts around you, and the funny moments hit a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And it felt like we were in a Marvel movie, but for M3GAN.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, she really has like a fan base already.
She brought a whole ass crowd to the theater.
A cultural icon before her movie was even released.
Yes.
I think the most exciting thing about M3GAN, before I get into the summary and, you know, who's in it and all that, was that everyone wanted to see this movie, but no one was expecting it to get as good of reviews as it is getting.
No.
I remember you texted me the other morning and was like, wait a second, M3GAN has like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And it has stayed at 95% or above since its release. And I am just so excited that so much of like the cinematic community and like reviewers and just casual movie watchers, horror fans, like everybody is just like getting together for this movie. And I haven't really seen that type of like universal love, I think, since like Top Gun this year. You know, like where everybody loves it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just really happy to finally be in theaters and to see this,
to check it out.
Yeah.
I think once I saw that Rotten Tomato score, I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, I was like, something's happening.
Yeah.
And like, I did not expect those kind of reviews, and so we're like, let's go.
That's the same, like I said with Top Gun, that's the same way we felt, because like I would have never seen a sequel to Top Gun unless I saw that Rotten Tomatoes score, and I was like, wait, everybody is loving this. And so, you know, we obviously like watched the original and went and saw it, and it became a cultural phenomenon of 2022. So it's really crazy to think that like we already have our 2023.
It happened
immediately. Yeah.
Within the first week.
M3GAN said, I'm here, bitches.
Yes. She danced her way into 2023.
She danced her way into the hearts and minds of America. Love it. So just a brief synopsis, spoiler free, straight from Google. M3GAN is a marvel of artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that is programmed to be a child's greatest companion and a parent's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, a brilliant roboticist. I've literally never heard of the word roboticist before. So that's a new one for me.
It is.
But
Google said it's real.
Google said it's real. M3GAN can listen, watch, and learn as it plays the role of friend, teacher, playmate, and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to give the girl a M3GAN prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. Unimaginable. This movie was directed by Gerard Johnstone, who is pretty up and coming. He really hasn't done a lot.
Okay.
Mostly in horror, but not a ton. But we got some big producers on this, James Wan and Jason Blum. It's a Blumhouse production.
Of course.
And I think the most impressive thing that I'm reading off of this Google One sheet is that this movie was made with a budget of $12 million.
What?
So they must have used a lot of practical effects to create M3GAN. And I'm very impressed seeing that budget.
Interesting.
Yeah. It stars Allison Williams as Gemma, who we know originally from Girls, but most people will know her from Get Out. She's the white girlfriend in Get Out.
Yep.
It also stars Violet McCraw, who plays the little girl Katie, and she is from The Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
So she's the younger version of
Nell, maybe?
Nell, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm picturing.
So she's the younger version of Nell.
Gotcha.
And just a quick shout out, there is a small role played by Brian Jordan Alvarez, who is a gay icon.
Yes,
I was so happy to see him in there.
Yes.
So, good cast right off the rip.
Definitely.
A lot of excitement, a lot of buzz. What are your thoughts and feelings coming out of the theater?
I loved this movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved this movie. From the beginning to the end, the entire movie, I just loved it. I ate it up. I thought it was so witty and smart. I thought the pacing was honestly perfect, both like the comedic pacing and the pacing of the horror. I thought just really was very smart, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think M3GAN is fucking hilarious.
M3GAN is already, like I said, like she's already an icon just without seeing, but like when you see it, it's different.
It hits so different. And her delivery was just the funniest shit to me.
Yeah.
And it was like creepy as hell.
Yep.
Like it was so creepy, but also extremely funny.
Yeah.
And like to have that balance of horror and humor, we've talked about this before with other movies, and that's hard to do.
Yep.
And it's hard to execute that the way that this was executed, in my opinion. I think it was honestly a flawless movie, in my opinion.
Wow. Flawless.
I know.
Wow.
Look at me go.
I know.
No notes. But zero notes, honestly, for M3GAN. But I thought it was great.
Yeah. The only thing that I can compare seeing M3GAN to is going back in time and seeing Jennifer's Body with my friends.
Okay.
Back in the early aughts.
Oh, the early aughts.
The early aughts. I completely agree with you that the blend of humor and horror is hard to do naturally and without force.
Yes.
And for the jokes to actually hit and for everything to be consistently funny. And it's also harder to do that in a campy horror movie.
Yes.
Because camp, although it's designed to be a little bit funny and out there and goofy and, you know, all the things that camp is, it's really easy to fail at camp.
Yes.
They, them is a perfect example.
Oh my God, that's what exactly popped into my head.
Perfect example. Where if you teeter on the edge of being too serious or too scary, you lose that humor real fast because it's like, am I supposed to be scared or am I supposed to be laughing?
Is this supposed to be funny or scary?
Right. And you can't really like have it be terrifying, and you also can't have it be serious, like we're talking about like really deep complex emotions and all that. So I thought that M3GAN was perfectly balanced in terms of like its tone throughout. It wasn't taking itself too seriously.
Right.
I also think that M3GAN herself, obviously we have yet to see if there will be like a franchise in the future or anything like that, but I, even just from this first movie, can already see that she is going to be a horror icon, up there with Chucky, up there with really iconic camp horror
creepy
villains.
Yeah. For sure. I can see that too. I think collectively as a society, we already decided that before anyone saw this movie. Like you said, I think again, the marketing really helped with that because you could tell just based on the turnout in the theater that everybody was already on board before it even started.
Right.
And then they just completely delivered. And so then everyone left the theater and was like, yes, that's what we wanted M3GAN to be. And so now it's like validated what we had imagined it was going to be. I mean, it exceeded my expectations tremendously, honestly.
I will say one thing about M3GAN that is like crazy impressive to me is that the character of M3GAN herself was played by 3 different people.
Oh.
So on IMDb, M3GAN's character is listed as 3 people: Kimberly Crossman, Jenna Davis, and Army Donald. And I'm very curious, like seeing the budget and seeing that, I want a behind the scenes feature.
Yeah, like how did they make this?
I don't know the last time I like saw a movie and was like, I need a behind the scenes feature. Like I was an addict for behind the scenes features as a kid. On the DVD menu, I watched them all, especially the Lord of the Rings extended version.
Of course you
featurettes. I can quote those as much as I can quote the Lord of the Rings, and I'm not joking.
Okay, meanwhile,
bring me knife, bring me fork. I'm just gonna say that and drop that in there for people who know what that is.
Which isn't me.
It's not you, and that's okay.
I'll tell you which behind the scenes I can quote.
Okay.
Princess Diaries.
Oh my God, yes.
I was obsessed with that, and the PE teacher doing the rooster sound. I don't know, like it was just like that was where I was at.
I'm gonna say right now too is that like the Lord of the Rings featurettes, not the Lord of the Rings movie, but the Lord of the Rings featurettes is why I went to film school. Okay. It's literally why I'm in my career that I am in now.
I never knew that about you.
Yeah.
Wow. And I've known you a long time.
I know.
I didn't think it was possible for me to learn new things about you.
Here you
are.
To
this day. And here we are. You proved me wrong. Interesting.
Yeah. And so as much as I love a featurette, for the past couple of years, obviously we haven't had DVDs. We haven't had... So you really have to go to YouTube for behind the scenes stuff. And I don't really go on YouTube that often.
No, we're not hip with the kids.
We're a little out of date on that.
Yeah.
I will, however, say that I would 1,000% watch a making of M3GAN.
Hell yeah.
Like I would from start to finish.
Yeah.
I'm just really curious to see how they blended the tech and the AI portion of M3GAN and how much of it is like an actual person. Yeah. Because she literally felt... acted real. Like it truly felt like there was a robot there. And I just in general throughout the movie was really impressed with the set, the pieces of tech that were involved. They didn't say what year it was set in, but it felt like it was, a very plausible reality that could happen.
Sure.
Which I think is what makes it a little terrifying.
It felt futuristic, but also like kind of like gave me like a Handmaid's Tale vibe where it was like, yeah, this feels a little far-fetched, but also like
this could happen
relatively sooner than we think.
There's probably people developing a M3GAN like creature, robot thing right now as we speak.
I'm sure there is.
And I pray to God that they see M3GAN and are like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Maybe let's cut back on some of the coding in here and cool it. Because I think what was also so terrifying about this was just kind of course, the theme of like AI going too far.
Yeah.
Which is for me like a counselor and like a person like with big feelings. Like I'm very afraid of AI.
Yeah.
Because like I don't want them to have feelings.
Right.
Because like that's so scary.
Because they're not real feelings.
Because they're not real feelings and it's made by a computer. It could do something like M3GAN to where it like gets off track and like starts coding itself. Like if the technology is that advanced, shit could get real scary real fast.
Yeah.
And like I just don't think about AI. To be honest, I feel about AI like you feel about space.
Where it's just like I can't do.
I don't think about it. I just pretend like no one's out there developing it.
You're just like that's not for
me.
me.
We're not doing it. We won't be seeing it anytime soon.
The element of horror that AI produces is that like, oh my God, this could actually happen. But also, I thought it was really interesting, and I don't know if I'm maybe reading into it, but I thought that the development of Katie's character becoming addicted to M3GAN, and also the interactions that they had with the therapist that was coming in to check on Katie, I thought was a really well done mocking of tablet culture.
Yes. I thought the same thing. I don't think you're reading into it at all.
Okay.
I think that's exactly what it was supposed to be. I think it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I think it was for us because we're not parents.
Nope.
We hope to be eventually. It's nothing like we're like going to be parents soon. We talk about when we have kids, though, how we are not going to be tablet parents, and our kids are not going to have tablets, and they're not going to be like screen kids or whatever,
right?
Because of what it does to them. And like, because I work in a school and I'm seeing what
2 degrees in child psychology,
just
so
2 little degrees,
just
just a
little tiny master's,
a little bachelor's and a master's in child psychology. We are seeing the effects of what tablet kids do, and I think like the tantrums and the like flip outs and like
the addiction
and emotional dysregulation that comes with that was really played out well in this movie.
It was played out well, and it was like not blatant enough that it was like a judgment of tablet parents, or it didn't directly make a comment about tablets. They did make a small comment at the beginning about screen time, which made that got like the gears in my head rolling. And then as the movie progressed, and as Katie's relationship with M3GAN progressed, and you saw that like addiction to M3GAN, and it was funny, there was a scene, and this isn't a spoiler, but there was a scene where Katie talks about how she doesn't want to go back to school after her parents had died. And she tells her Aunt Gemma, she's like, I've learned more from M3GAN than I have from school. And you hear that from kids these days, where they're like, oh, I learn more on YouTube than I even do at school, so why do I go to school?
What's the point?
When I could just go on Google or YouTube. And I thought that commentary that it was giving of like the dangers, and also just seeing the therapist be like, yo, like, this kid is like,
she basically was like, she's forming an unhealthy attachment.
Yes. We as a society have accepted that, like, oh, this is normal. Like, let's just give kids
just alter their brain chemistry with technology.
Oh my God.
And just hope for the best. And I think like exactly what you said, it was a very subtle commentary on that part of our culture.
Yeah.
And I agree. It wasn't like slap you in the face. It wasn't like the whole point of the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it was a theme.
And I think that the character of Gemma, when she was kind of trying to justify why M3GAN was good for Katie, is the same arguments that you hear from parents about the tablets, where it's just like, oh, well, it helps them calm down, or we can be out in public, or she hasn't cried in a while because she has the tablet. Of course she hasn't cried in a while. She's literally getting like shot full of dopamine and serotonin because she's watching cartoons or playing a fun little game. And the distraction of like beep boop beep bop little images and videos and sounds and all that in this movie is completely hindering a small child from grieving the loss of her parents. And I definitely think that it was just making a comment about technology in society in general, especially in terms of raising children.
Yeah, I think this was kind of like showing it to an extreme of like the worst case scenario, honestly.
And I think there's something really wonderful about movies that are able to make social commentary while also cracking you the fuck up and making you jump in your seat because you're scared. And there are very few movies that can do that successfully, where it's not forced, or something like They Them, where it's like this whole like societal dialogue about LGBT, where it just fails miserably. M3GAN, I completely agree with you, although I will disagree that it was perfect. I do have critiques, obviously. Of course I do. But I think it was a highly successful horror comedy that was able to also blend social commentary and have a theme throughout that was more than just
Like creepy doll.
Yeah.
Creepy robot.
Creepy, funny robot, scary.
Right. Ha ha hoo hoo.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come to the part of the podcast where you get to tell me the things you didn't like about it and then make me question whether or not I think it's flawless or not.
Okay, so I had a few little issues, of course. My number one issue, and I won't go too heavy on this because she is a child.
Okay.
But Violet McCraw, who played Katie, was just a very bad actor.
Okay.
And I feel like directors are really starting to learn how to direct children to get solid performances from them. And I thought it was weird because I feel like I didn't remember her being bad as Nell in Haunting of Hill House, but she was really stiff. It sometimes felt like I was watching like a 4th grade play.
Okay.
You know, like her lines were delivered very exact.
Yeah, I got you.
And it was like they told her, play angry. Play sad. And I'm gonna say that like it's not her fault, it's the director's fault, because most children, if they're directed well, I'm not kidding, most children, as long as they're like an outgoing person, you could pull a good performance out of them if you know how to direct them well enough. We've seen that over the past couple of years.
Definitely.
And unfortunately, I think because maybe this director doesn't have a ton of experience, that he just didn't know how to get a good performance out of her.
Right.
Which is unfortunate, but
not her fault.
Yeah, her. Yeah. I'm not going to shit on this little kid and be like, wow, she's ruining the whole movie. I will say that I also a little bit disagreed with you on the pace. I thought that there was a part kind of in the middle where I wanted it to be scarier and I wanted it to like have a slower build of M3GAN becoming creepy, but it was almost like we kind of saw M3GAN becoming creepy and then like it switched and M3GAN was like fucking terrifying. And I wish there was just a slower build of that because there was a lot of like exposition as well where we were just kind of like setting up what would happen in the final act instead of a like gradual natural process taking us from the first act all the way through.
Sure, that's fair. However, I still don't think I had an issue with the pacing. I see what you're saying about it, like being maybe just turned a little, the dial being turned a little slower. I could see your issue with that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was not a make or break. So shall we do our popcorn scores?
Let's do it.
Okay. It's clearly a large for me.
Yeah. For its genre, it's a large. I think as a movie, it's a medium. I have to check my own bias here and just be like, if you were to put this up against Tar, Banshees of Inisherin, all of that,
sure,
obviously it's not a large. But for this genre, absolutely it is a large popcorn.
And I think, honestly, for me, because I'm so emotions based, I'm basing my large off of my emotions and how I felt seeing this movie. As an experience, a large for sure.
I know we covered pretty much everything from the movie.
The whole movie.
So we don't have a ton to talk about in the spoiler section, but I do have like a few things. So, and
it's again my opportunity to share how I really feel.
Yeah. Welcome back to the spoiler section of the podcast. I am just going to start by saying I really and truly do hope that there are more M3GANs, and I'm basing the ending that there will be. I not only want more M3GAN, but also historically, the first installment of any horror movie is usually the least violent. And this movie, one of my other critiques that I didn't really want to like go too heavily into at the beginning of the podcast was that I wanted this movie to be a lot bloodier. I wanted it to be a lot more violent. And there were scenes where it was like going that way, like when she kills the neighbor with a power washer. But I understand that for a first installment and to pull a wider audience in, you need to have more toned down horror.
You have to be careful.
And this movie really leaned into the sharp cut right as a murder was about to happen. So it was like the dog got pulled through the fence, sharp cut, which like I don't want to see the dog die.
No, we don't.
Thank you for cutting there.
Yeah.
But you know, the kid hits the car, sharp cut. They shied away from showing really any blood or gore. And
Right.
I totally understand that it was something that needed to be done to have a wider audience. But I have a feeling that there was probably more shot that they left out that was more violent.
Sure.
And honestly, I would have loved it. I would have loved an over-the-top, gory, like, doll horror movie.
Yeah.
But I will say that this movie is exceptionally palatable if you do not like horror.
Definitely.
There's nothing in this movie that I think a non-horror fan who's like a little gore shy would be upset by.
No, I don't think so at all. And I think that's probably why I loved it so much, because it wasn't gory. Because I think if you haven't listened to our other horror episodes, I am not a gore fan at all.
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive about it and just do not prefer to see that.
Right.
So I think it was smart of them to not do
No, it was
that.
very
Like
smart.
you said, especially if we're going to see like sequels and things like that, because now they've got everyone's attention, and pretty much anyone and everyone who saw this movie would see M3GAN too. You know, so I think it was strategic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I understand your disappointment with that because you love gore
and I
so
feel
much.
like I'm probably in like a small minority of people who we're far in horror fans. We are in deep. We enjoy the weirdest, grossest stuff. Right. And I understand that that's not everybody's cup of tea, and I completely respect their decision to keep it very PG, not PG.
I was gonna say
13.
Not taking kids to this.
No, but still, I thought it was very muted horror, and I think that's why I wanted a little bit more of the, you know, M3GAN lurking, and you know, that just the shot of her sitting on the windowsill, charging in the bedroom is terrifying. And I think they could have had more scenes like that where, you know, she was creeping and lurking and terrifying in that conniving, plotting,
kind of like skulking about.
That to me was significantly scarier than any of the kill scenes because the kill scenes were so muted.
Definitely.
Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So it's not that I need, it's not like I'm sitting there thinking like, I need more blood. Give me more blood. Like I'm not
right.
I'm not saying that, but either you need to creep me out or you need to horrify me. And this movie was like on the edge of doing both of those things, but didn't fully get there. And I want it to fully get there in sequels.
I got you. I can see that. I understand.
Yeah.
I hear your being a counselor. I hear what you're saying.
I hear what you're saying.
And what I'm hearing you say is that
you're wrong.
That's what M3GAN would say.
Dude, she had so many good like one-liners.
Yes.
Just absolutely iconic. And I know I turned to you like in the middle of the movie, or it was like right after, and I was like, this movie is for the girls and the gays. Like
100%.
There was something so gay about this movie.
There was. And there was also like you said, the girls too.
Yeah.
Because there were a shit ton of teenage girls in the theater and they were laughing their asses off. And I can tell you, if this movie came out when I was in high school, oh my God, like I would be obsessed. So I totally get that. I think also, again, I know I mentioned this earlier, it was not only the one-liners that M3GAN had, but it was the delivery.
Yeah.
Because it was like, yes, she was a robot, and so they were delivered a little bit robotically, but also, like you said earlier, Valley Girl, and that combination and the things she was saying was just the funniest shit to me.
Like sometimes it was literally like if Kourtney Kardashian was a violent creature.
Yes.
Like, you know how Kourtney Kardashian has that very like tone, like flat.
Yes.
Like she's just like, wow, Kim, people are dying. Like that was M3GAN. What an icon. And I really do think that this movie is going to be just one of those quotable, meme-worthy movies where we are going to see so many clips and stitches and TikToks and everything where it's just M3GAN quotes.
Yes. One of my personal favorites as far as like the deadpan delivery was kind of towards the beginning when M3GAN is kind of first introduced into the home. And the part about her being like an ally to parents is that she's supposed to like help the kids remember like what to do. And so there's this bit about her reminding Katie to flush the toilet, and she keeps forgetting. And there's like this one cut where Megan's standing outside the bathroom and she just goes, Katie, seriously, flush the toilet. Because she's already reminded her a few times, and it's just the funniest shit. Like the comedic timing,
it's so good,
is perfect.
I think there are a couple of quotes from M3GAN too where she went from being funny to like bone chilling.
Yeah.
And so like you'll have a scene where she's just saying really funny like that, like the
flush the toilet,
like the flush the toilet scene like is really funny, and then like the very next scene she'll say something that like makes the hair on your arms stand up.
Yes.
We were like, ooh.
Yes. Like, so as it started unraveling was when it got scary, you know, because we started to see M3GAN be creepy, and you know, the whole scene with like the little boy.
Yeah.
And she's like crawling in the forest.
Dude, when she starts running on all fours, I was like,
and tells him to run. I was like,
you know what happens to little boys. I thought, truly, honestly, the creepiest thing that happened in the entire movie was when she used the owner's voice to lure the dog out of the fence.
Yes.
Because we hadn't, I'm getting chills
I
thinking
just got
about
goosebumps.
it.
I know.
Because we hadn't seen her mimic a voice yet.
Right.
And you hear that little like teensy touch of robot behind the voice. And when she called the dog out, I was like, oh no. And like, thank God they don't show the dog being murdered on camera. They don't show the dog's body. I was very thankful for that. But I thought that even though that happened very early in the movie, that honestly, even though it was a dog, like I thought that was the creepiest kill scene out of all of them.
Yes,
for that reason,
because it was so unsettling.
Yeah,
because you're right, we hadn't seen her do that, and she was also off camera doing it.
Yeah,
and so you had to really be paying attention to hear that little touch of artificial voice, and it was terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. And I think that's my point that I was bringing up in the first part of the podcast, was that I wanted more of that. And like, if I can't have crazy, ridiculous kill scenes, I want that.
Right.
Give me one or the other.
Right.
And they kind of were in the middle, and it didn't like fully get me there. It didn't fully commit to her being creepy, and it didn't fully commit to it being violent.
Right.
It was right in the middle. And I thought, with just like a little hint more on both of those ends, we would have had a really like once in a lifetime type of movie.
Definitely.
Like, this will 1,000% be something that you and I are going to watch and revisit, and we will be first in line to buy tickets to M3GAN 2.
Yeah,
we're gonna be there.
We will be quoting this movie. Can I say my favorite quote from M3GAN?
Of course.
It's when she's like unraveling and like half of her face is off and she's like deranged and they're like fighting her. Yeah. She just goes to Katie, an 8-year-old child. You ungrateful little bitch.
Just shitting on an 8-year-old.
Just like shitting on an 8-year-old. She looks deranged. Like her
you know
face
what she
is melted off.
You know what she looks like? Is she looks like when people would like accidentally cut their Barbie's hair.
Yeah.
Like
yes. It's exactly what it looks like.
Or like, you know, the Barbie got too close to the fireplace or something.
Yes.
It looked like just a completely fucked up Barbie doll.
Yes.
And everybody's seen one of those in their lifetime.
We've all seen one.
And her just delivering a line like that, just absolutely,
to the child she's supposed to like love and protect. It was just like,
ungrateful little bitch.
You ungrateful little bitch. Like, amazing.
So that does it for us.
Yes.
We really and truly hope that you are able to get out and see M3GAN sometime soon, because it is worth a watch. It
Definitely.
is hilarious and scary and all of the fun things.
Amazing.
So definitely get out and do that. I am not sure what our next episode is going to be.
To be determined.
What I had planned is not looking like it is going to be showing at our theaters. So
gotcha.
Stay tuned to our Instagram to see what our next episode will be. It might be a break. It might be nothing. It might be a review of The Last of Us, which is a show.
Oh.
Possibly. We're not sure.
Crazy.
Could be something.
Okay.
So we hope you have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for joining us on the ride home.